Aha! It's Wednesday morning and it's time for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. You might think that I'm starting late. That's not true. I started on time, but none of the sound sources were working. Every single one of them got turned off. The music and the microphone and everything. Who knows why? Between Monday and Wednesday. Maybe it's that evil artificial intelligence. Yeah. That evil artificial intelligence is infiltrating the stream here and causing a delay. Anyway, that's not the case. Nobody has any idea. Y'all got reset. It's Submarine Wednesday, and I'm going to be working once again on the 1960s vintage Renwall cutaway George Washington Polaris launching atomic submarine prototype. This is an authentic, actually I have 3 of them so that I can put enough parts together for one model. These are authentic vintage kits, and I'm an authentic vintage kit builder doing my best to try to put this thing together. I need to do a flip here. I am going to flip this really crappy piece of used sandpaper. 2, 3, and because I was late and had to restart, I'll do 3 more flips. And it's on the floor. So that's that. Okay, what I'm going to be doing today is continuing to work on the mess and bunk deck, which is made up of a million billion little parts. You haven't even seen these chairs yet. You will soon. You'll see them soon. Kitchen, anyway, a whole lot of parts, a whole lot of different colors, paints that are working. None of these parts, as I have pointed out, fit. None of them have fit. When I put them together, there's been a fair amount of sanding and filing and polishing to get them to do that, even before being painted, and then there has to be a little adjustment after that. Some of them have had really bad mold marks that needed to be filed off, like this one here. And it's supposed to end up looking like this. Okay. And I'll just show you what we've got so far. So far I have done the bunk deck and the staircase that goes on it. This eventually, somehow or other, gets cemented into this little hole here and makes contact with the deck above it. And I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but the instructions say that's how it has to be done. I started getting white, the base coat. Usually the white doesn't cover well, so it might need like 3 thin coats because I don't want to lose any of the detail here. Like on the stove, there's, if you can see them, there's like pots and pans hanging and little knobs and things on the drawers. That'll be interesting to try to get that detail done. But there are other things that need to be painted white, and those include the tabletops. With this wonderful color chart here, has really helpful things like white sheets on the bed, white sheets on the bed, white 2 of the kitchen appliances, but none of the rest. So who knows what those are supposed to be like. Green for the chairs and white for the tabletops. Again, 2 out of the 5. Anyway, the painting instructions on this are totally worthless. So I've been using the box top as kind of the color guide. Between Monday and now, I primed the little tables and some of the walls and things. Okay. And what I'm going to do first, because I'm going to be bringing the white paint out again to second coat this section of this wall, which is in the storeroom. Okay. Separate from everything else. And then there's other things too that need to be painted white, like the insides of these doors. These doors open into storerooms, which are white, okay? But the outside wall and the outsides of the doors are painted blue. So just these little bits need to be painted white. But before I start painting things white, I'm going to be painting the bottoms of the tables. The bottoms of the tables need to be painted brown. These, okay? And then they get turned over and the tops get painted white because, as I said before, I doubt very much that they have tablecloths. They probably have, what they probably have are like porcelain tops for the tables. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that'll be once coated. White will be coming out fairly often until these things are coated. And then all these pieces, like this picture here shows, gets cemented into this, which is now the floor, and those brown things are the benches for the tables for the enlisted people. So yeah, let's get on with that. When I primed these things, I'm going to use this technique again. Let's see how it works here. They need to be kind of held in place. So I'm going to take a piece of tape. And I'm going to make a little sticky thing here. Sticky thing. And the reason there's a sticky thing there is that in order to paint the bottoms of these tables, I'm going to just put them on here, which will hold them in place while I paint them brown. And then I'll pull them off and paint the tops. So the only thing that is certain here is that the tape holds the tables. There's this little table here. The tables get smaller and smaller as we go. Great, huh? And what's left here among the primed pieces is the staircase that goes up here. There's that staircase from the bunk room. Well, there's another staircase that goes from here to here. The staircase from the bunk room emerges in this little rectangle here. This one goes up to the deck above it, which is almost as bad as this. Would you like a preview? Above the bunk deck goes below the mess deck, and the mess deck goes below the control deck. And you can see that the control deck, just has a lot in common with the deck below, in that there are bunks again. I am really tired of painting bunks. I think these are finally the last ones. And then there's lockers and sinks and all these control panels that say, oh, these control panels really need to be detailed so that you can see all the buttons and dials and all sorts of things on them. I'm just looking at the instruction. That is not... Okay. Yeah, that's the scope seat. It looks really uncomfortable. See that? Somehow I think that's like supposed to be like a bench that you sit on. Anyway, this eventually gets put on top of the mess deck. It's only be working on these decks, I think, for a long, long time. But once I get past the bulkhead behind here, the one behind the control and the mess decks, then it'll move along a little more quickly, because then I start putting together the missile launching tubes. And there's a fair number of parts to that, but the painting is not quite as difficult. Anyway, yeah, so these are now on tape. And I'm going to paint the bottoms of these tables brown. Okay, and I'm going to be using the same red-brown color that I've been using for like the frames of the bunks and things like that. I'm just looking at this and there's this little white spot on here. So while I've got it out, I'm going to touch that little shiny spot because I don't know why it's there. So let's mix this up and see how this goes. Once the brown paint dries, I'm going to just, if it'll lap over the edges a little bit, I'm going to scrape that off or sand it off. Because the edges of the tables, the tabletops, the edges, I'll take one off here a second. When these get painted, the top will be painted white, but I'm going to paint the edges of the top white as well. So anyway, that's the intent. So we'll get this all stirred up here. Pick a brush that looks like it might cooperate. And after I'm done with this, the brown has to dry before I can start putting white paint on. It dries pretty quickly, but we'll go for that. And I'm going to paint the staircase this silvery color, aluminum color, just like the other one I did. And yeah, maybe put a. This needs a little bit white on here as well. These are hanging hams and sausages, but they're hanging from this bar. That bar probably needs to be painted white too. So there's a bunch of little white things to be painted. I'm looking at the assembly instructions. I started reading those, and it says, cement the following as shown in the order given. That's a direct order from the instruction sheets that all of this myriad of pieces need to be cemented to the floor in a particular order. And one of the first things to be cemented in are these little tiny itsy-bitsy chairs that are to be painted green. And after I get the brown on here, I am going to start prepping the chairs. Well, actually, I'm going to paint the staircase just to get that taken care of, and then I'll start prepping the chairs, and you'll see that that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, well, take these off so I can see close up. And I'll start putting brown paint on the bottoms of these tables here. I don't need to put it on the bottoms because those are the things that are cemented. Looking at this now, and this is turning out to not be the brilliant idea that I thought it would probably be. This is where I need the OO button again. So on Monday we talked about a new feature, the technical wizard who puts the studio together and makes everything work is also the DM for Dungeons and Dragons stream. He said, I have a little bit of time. Haven't heard that in quite a while. And what would be a fun thing to do? A fun thing to do would be to give me an OO button so that when something goes wrong, like the plan I have turns out to not work, or I put my fingers in the paint, basically mess up, which happens from time to time, at least once, sometimes more than once per stream. It's not like I plan them. It's not like I say, oh, I forgot to have an oh moment. And then, have to create something. The oh moments are all unscripted and spontaneous. They are truly honest oh-ohs. Yeah, okay. So this isn't working like this, but maybe what I can do So I'm going to lift this up and actually just hold the tape, because I need to be able to, like this, see? This is the problem. I couldn't see where I was painting, and so I missed a whole spot. I'm getting paint where I don't want it, but not getting paint where I do. This isn't what I had in mind, but if it works, it works. I guess the advantage of this is that I can now set it down out of the way when it's time to begin painting something else. And I managed to get a lot of paint on places where I was intending to not. At least I'm using painter's tape. If I had been using packing tape, you know, that transparent stuff, it would have been sticking to my fingers so badly that I wouldn't be able to let go of it. One thing I was noting as I finally got back to painting minifigures on Monday is that the minifigs I used to complain about being so small with a little detail that I could hardly see and all of that, compared to these submarine parts, are just really, really big. So I decided that I'll still complain about it. I mean, that's become, I think, an important feature of relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons, is that I complain about things. I'm still going to complain about how hard it is sometimes to see things and paint the detail, whatever, on the minifigs. But I do want to acknowledge that compared to the submarine parts, they're very, very large. Yeah, this was supposed to be like a no-brainer, a real easy thing, couldn't mess up. You know, getting the bottoms of these tables painted. But, yeah, none of that ever happens on relaxing painting. We don't have just nice, quiet, uneventful things going on here. Being really careful about the bottoms of these tables, that's really dumb because you're not going to be able to see them. Careful about is like the legs, the vertical parts, which I will get to after I paint you can't see the horizontal parts. Anyway, this is going badly enough that, yeah, this is almost worth. This is, if I had it, this would almost be worth pushing the OO button. So my experience here this morning is telling me that if I'm going to attempt to paint detail today, almost inevitably must, because it has to get done sometime, that it is not going to go that well, and I need to be prepared for maybe multiple OOs, I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm going to be spending some of my time cleaning up the paint that is, anyway, yeah. Yeah, so if I'm going to try to do something that requires any kind of detail today, it's going to be interesting. The most important parts here are the ends. I'm going to clean the brush. The ends and the sides. Okay, so I need to make sure that these sides are painted, and especially they haven't been all the way down, especially on the bottoms, and every single one of them is not done well. I would have been better off just putting a glove on and holding these things. My really clever idea turned out to be a failure. If you're just watching now, you're going, what in the heck is going on? What's going on was these tiny little pieces were hard to hold on to, so I put them on a piece of tape, and I stuck the tape to the workbench, and that was supposed to hold it, but when I did that, I couldn't see the surfaces I was trying to paint. So I'm just holding it like this, and then slopping paint on it, hoping that I get things covered well enough. Probably the best thing about this model is everything's really small, and if you don't let once this is done, if I don't let anybody get up really close to it, and definitely not like with a magnifier, we wouldn't let them magnify their heads in the near vicinity of this, for example. Yeah, all of these flaws will be virtually invisible because of their minuscule size. So I'm just going to put this over somewhere out of the way and do my best to get my fingers off of it and then not touch it anymore. Okay, that was something that got done, and it couldn't be messed up, although I came close to being able to messing up something that couldn't be. What I'm going to do next is paint this little staircase, and the color I used on the other one is it was the duraluminum color. This one, I'm going to give that a stir. This is going to be, the major thing about here is getting an alligator clip on it so it actually holds it, because the entire surface needs to be painted this color. Front, back, top, and bottom. And can do that with some luck. Okay, this is another potential oh moment. I'm trying. There's this little peg on the bottom. That tiny little peg there, right there, is the only thing that holds it when you cement it in. So that doesn't need to be painted. If I can clip that on an alligator clip and get it to hold. And okay, the thing here is that I need to get paint on all of the surfaces, okay, while it's being held by that little clip. And if the clip slips, this is going to go flying. That'll be great fun to watch. It'll go flying off camera, and maybe I'll be able to find it, and maybe not. Because, was it last Friday, when I was painting one of the minifigs, I managed to break off a chunk of it. There was a piece of the mold support structure that was still showing. It was still attached and needed to come off. Well, I was very carefully, very carefully using an X-Acto knife, very carefully using an X-Acto knife to cut off that little bit of support string, basically. And in the process managed to clip off the end of the cape, something that definitely was visible. Definitely visible. Which angle you looked at it, from which you looked. And yeah, and never found it. I mean, it was a fairly big piece. It was almost, but not quite, like a 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch, which is, you know, as far as little pieces go, a pretty big little piece. And never could find it. So what I did find was another piece of plastic that I then filed and sanded and cut to make a replacement part. And I have to say, it turned out actually really quite well. That moment turned out to be okay, in that I got the replacement part, and you can hardly tell there. It didn't go flying yet, and maybe it won't. Yeah, I made that replacement part and painted it over, and it looks okay. All right, so that's done. I'm going to now, this will be interesting. I'm not sure how this is going to go. This is almost certainly going to be a source of oh moments. I've shown these to you before, but not really close up, and I haven't really tried to do any manipulation with them. But there are tiny little chairs. If you look at the instruction manual, there's these little chairs that go around this table, and there's a couple here and here, and they are exceptionally poorly molded, lots of flashing and mold marks, and they're in this little envelope, and I'm going to pour them out into this well. They look like specks, tiny little specks of things, and pretty much that's what they are. So what I'm going to do with these is, I have a whole box of new alligator clips that then has this little latch on it, and this latch latches really well. There we go. I'm going to need a bunch of these. and fell. So you would think there's something big and shiny like this would be easy to find, right? Well, yep, there it is. I actually could find it on the floor. That's pretty surprising. So I was buying alligator clips, and I needed like a dozen alligator clips, right? I mean, you can either buy them as a box of 50 or as a box of 100. And the box of 100 was like 15% more than the box of 50, so why not? So now I've got a lot of alligator clips. Okay, so this is what we should do here. See, they call them alligator clips because, you know, cool, right? So I should get some good metal primer. Yes, no, not for hands, for heads. Get a primer that adheres to chromed metal. Not every primer will. It will scrape off really easily. But, okay, I mean, who hasn't done this, right? And if you haven't done it, you wanted to, is teeth. Paint the teeth, and you put a little mean, vicious little eyeball here, right? And it comes for you. Since I've got like 100 of these, we could make these for Dyson Dungeons. We could have alligator monsters and just custom paint them. They could be painted also with little stripes and spots, like red eyes and blue eyes and all sorts of things, blood-covered teeth or not. And we'll sell them for $10 a piece, okay? Your custom painted alligator monster. How does that sound? Let's see. Yeah, $10 a piece, plus shipping and handling, like they say on TV, plus a small fee. So it costs you $12.50 total to have custom painted alligator clip monsters from Dyson Dungeons. I don't know if that's real or not. I'm just making that up. Let's see what kind of response we get. Anyway, these little things, you know, when they talk about like rice grain size, these really are. But as you can see, like with this one, it doesn't look like a chair because it's got all this flashing all the way around it. And then the bottom, these things are supposed to fit in these holes. And none of them do. So I'm going to file those down to be a little smaller too. And somehow each of these needs to be filed and sanded and carved in a way that they actually work. So if I were to take one of these chairs, like this one, it isn't too terribly badly messed up. It needs to be inserted. They go in like that. Whoa, okay. See that one just flipped. Oh my, that's so tiny. And I caught it before it fell on the floor. Okay, I'm looking at these chairs and I'm trying to figure out, it's almost the way they're built, okay, is that they actually stand up. It looks like these are set up. Yeah, so that the chair actually sort of stands up from the floor, like it's on a swivel. Because if you can see it, the little prong that goes into the hole on the floor changes size so that they only go down. Yeah. An alligator, I think so. I think we can make alligator clip monsters. I think I should work on them. They would look pretty cool, won't they? I bet you can get them on Etsy for already like machine painted or something, alligator clip monsters for probably like $2 or something. But ours are going to be expensive because they're Dyson Dungeons branded. And, you know, hand painted here on a stream, that kind of thing. You could order one in your custom colors and watch it be painted right here on the stream, and then we'd put it in a little plastic envelope like this, you know, wrap it in a little tissue so the paint didn't flake off, and send it to you. Yeah, so I haven't played with these chairs before other than to complain about how awful they seemed. And they're everything that I thought they might be in terms of awfulness. That's how they're supposed to work. They go in and they sit up on a little pedestal like that. So it looks like a revolving chair. Oh my. Okay. As you can see, this is not going to be easy. Because they're so tiny. This one that I'm holding is like the best of the whole bunch in terms of the amount of fixing that it takes. These are so little. I am not going to make an effort to prime them. Okay? Because I mean there's just no way. So I'm hoping to be able to do is get an alligator clip onto the bottom of this. I don't know how I painted these when I was a kid. Maybe I just dipped them in the paint. I don't know. So the reason I'm working on these now rather than doing some painting is that the instructions that say the order, it says cement them in the order given. The instructions are very clear that the parts need to be cemented into the floor in a particular order. The chairs go in first. Okay. There's 11 of these. Can you believe it? And there. So this one fits. I'm going to put it in this one's ready to go well. That one has hardly any prong on it at all when it came off of the tree. That's almost certainly. I'm just looking at these now, and they all are on those like little pedestals. So hopefully this one will work. The cement will hold it maybe somehow. I don't know. If not, I've got an entire additional kit with an additional 13 of these little chairs. And if necessary, I can take some from those other kits. If I come across one that's just too badly damaged or unusable, it is possible to replace it with another. But it has enough to work with there. This one has a very long little prong on it, but it's too big that way. They all absolutely, look at this one. This is amazing. It's got flashing on it here. Yeah. So what can I talk about when I'm working on infinitesimally rice grain sized little chairs that somehow need to be painted yet? What's even worse, and I haven't been doing these, I never did it on the original either, is they actually have tiny little bitty sailors. There's sleeping sailors that you're supposed to be putting in these bunks. Like, take 2 sleeping sailors and stick them anywhere on the bunks. Yeah, right. You see these chairs and how badly these are made, and they're all getting painted just one color. And the little sailors are even more poorly made. They're barely recognizable as humanoid figures. And they're supposed to be painted, find the one I was cleaning up. And it's not that one. Yeah, and they're supposed to be painted to look like sailors, kind of. So the uniforms are blue, and then you're supposed to paint like brown or blonde or whatever, black for their hair, and paint their faces and hands. It isn't possible. It just can't be done. And so I didn't even attempt it. So there's sleeping sailors from the bunks, and there's standing sailors for just standing around, but believe it or not, there's actually sitting sailors that you're supposed to put on these little chairs. And, the sleeping sailor I thought was just kind of amusing. That's pretty funny. But seriously, you're trying to get a little, yeah, not going to happen. So these chairs are really not good, but they're so tiny that they're just going to give the impression of a chair. I mentioned that before. This model is this interesting combination of incredibly fine detail. Okay, like on this bulkhead that I'm still working on, where the torpedo tubes are there, and there's little dials and a clock. Okay, junction boxes, even conduit tubes. That are just so tiny that they're next to impossible to see. So there's this combination of some of these things are incredibly detailed. And so I'm looking at this and I'm hoping that that's just dust. Yeah, it is. Okay. Incredibly detailed like this, or like the stove, you know, where there's pans hanging and there's all the features on the cupboards and there's spice racks and things, a faucet for the sink. Incredibly detailed. And then there's other parts that are so just barely made that they just give the impression of being something. So it's this weird combination of hyper-realism and detail and impressionism. It just makes this whole thing really kind of interesting. And yeah. Anyway, yeah, I've got 3 out of 11 chairs done. And as you can see, this is taking a good long time, but it has to be done because these chairs go in first before anything else is cemented in, and they're right up in front. They're right up in front of the model, and so they are, as one might say, a prominent feature. I don't know if there's any better way of doing this than what I'm doing now. Is, you know, trying to hold on to it and working around all of the edges. What'll be fun is putting these on the alligator clips and trying to not have them snap out and go flying across the room. That's when I'll be thankful for having 2 backup kits, because if I end up losing some of these to alligator clip launches, I won't be able to replace them. I suppose I could be doing this off stream, but why? Right? I mean, you might as well see every painful step that one has to go through to build a vintage submarine. So, you know, I've talked about how building this submarine model is probably taking just as long as having built the original submarine. Okay, and how everything's taking like 2 or 3 times longer than you would think, because the parts come from your subcontractor and they don't fit and you have to rework them. And that leads to more delays and cost overruns and stuff. So these are little chairs, right? You probably have heard the apocryphal story about $500 toilet seat. Well, given the rework that I'm having to do on all of these little chairs, I'm sitting here thinking that on the real submarine, each of these chairs cost $13,000. And that's in 1962 money. And I'm anyway, that's kind of the equivalent now of how things are going for this. Okay, this is one of the worst ones. You can barely see against the background of the flashing that there is actually a chair there. And the chair itself has one of those circles on it. Everything, this particular one is just exceptionally awful. Okay. Flashing the extra plastic on there is like, compared to some of the others, is very thick. There's a couple more that are, there's one more that's almost as bad, and then there's a couple that come really close. in terms of being poorly done. You'd say, well, you know, if these are so bad, why didn't you, just like I did with a couple other parts that were very badly warped? I traded them out with the equivalent part from another model where they weren't warped. Like this deck on the other model, on the original model, was actually really, it had this huge curve on it. There's a little curve on here, but it was unusable. So why didn't you swap out the chairs? Because, you know, maybe they were better too. And I checked, and nope. I have 2 backup models, okay? Two backup kits or spare parts, and they were just as bad. Not worse, but just as bad as this. When you get 3 kits, all from the 1960s, right? And they all have the same poor molding quality, you can be pretty sure that was like just a feature of the things at the time. When I did this when I was in grade school, I don't recall. Maybe I just used this. I think if there was something like this, I probably just set it down and got like a single-edged razor blade. That's what I used then instead of an X-Acto knife, because they actually made such things then as single-edged razor blades. Is you could hold on to the not sharp end and cut with the sharp end. Is I probably just set it down and cut it off. And I'm not sure I even painted these. Or if I did, I probably painted them after they were put in. Anyway, yeah, I knew this would have to be done, and I knew it would be arduous. And it is. Probably a skilled modeler, someone who, does models really well frequently. Probably has a technique for doing this that would be faster and more effective. But I am very much an amateur at this, both in terms of modeling skills and painting skills. And so I'm just doing what I can to make these resemble chairs as they're meant to be. Okay, well, this looks much more like a chair than it did when I started. It's got one of those famous circles on it. Yeah, that's why I put this over the well on the palette. You can't really see it on this very well, but it's got one of those circular mold marks that plague so many of the parts of this model right along the side of the chair, and I'm just trying to file it down a little bit so it's not quite so obvious. And then I'm going to hope that the green paint that I eventually use on these adheres well enough. So I'm only trying these in one of the holes. I probably should be like testing it in all of them, but they seem to be working okay. Yeah, I got 5 out of 11 done. moving right along here. Okay, this one is one of the not hideous ones. So far, when it comes to grabbing these with an alligator clip, there's only one that looks like it's going to be a real problem. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe I can, maybe I can put that one in the back of the table where you can't see it very much. Or just have to mess around with the painting until it works. Okay, so I'm going to continue plugging away at these, and then I'm going to, I think I'm going to take a break from chairs, although I've got the alligator clips here and I'm ready to paint them. What I think I might do is get the white paint out, and because the brown paint will be dry, is paint the tabletops, put a second coat of white paint on these things, the kitchen parts, put a second coat of white paint on those, and then paint a couple of pieces that need to be painted white that haven't had their first coat on yet. So the timing on that is off a little bit, in that I should have painted them all white to begin with, so that the second and third coats could go on at the same time. But what will happen instead is that some will get their first coat at the same time that others get their second, and then those will get their second coat at the same time that the others get their final third coat if necessary. And then the little bits that are left, if they need a third coat, will have like a fourth wave of white paint. Yeah, so there's 7 in here, right? Which just goes to show you what we're dealing with. Okay, this one is almost as bad as the really bad one was. I know I had there it is. It's our official branded Dice and Dungeons mug. There you go. Time to have a little hydration. Making alligator clip monsters. That might just do that sometime. That might be kind of fun to try. If I can, like I said, we need a good primer. Like clean these off with denatured alcohol to get the oils off, and get a really good primer that will adhere to the metal. And then, paint some. See how it goes. It might be kind of like those dragon egg things. peeling off the excess plastic here as much as I can. Can't even find a spot to grab it to get started. This one, I don't think this is going to be usable. The little prong on the bottom. There isn't a prong on the bottom. Hold it in. So I think I'm going to have to, there might be at least two where I need to get some out of the other kits just to make them work. Because if you can't really see it, but there's this goes into the hole and that holds it up. That extra little prong is missing on that one. It got, I don't know, got broken off or cut off or something when it came off of the tree. So I haven't had to borrow too many parts from the other kits, but I'm going to have to do that with two of these chairs at this point, which is fine. You know, I've got those extra kits. They're for parts. I don't know, when I'm all done, I might put them up on eBay. Maybe not even doing that. I get, you know, like a not complete missing. I just throw this chair back in with the others. You know, sold as is. The way shipping costs have gone up now, it costs like $20 to ship these things in their as-is state. Well, we can't get much more than about 30 for it, so nobody's going to pay 50. Anyway, I think, I don't know what'll happen with the extra kits. I might just sell them as a pair, just saying, you know, parts. As is, not inventoried. Basically, you're paying, I don't want to throw them out, you know, because they have some value to a modeler. Can't really give them to Goodwill or, you know, donate them. Nobody will know what they are, so they'll just get thrown away. So even though they're not, you know, maybe fully complete, maybe there's parts that don't work or are slightly broken, they're still too valuable in a sense to somebody to trash. So I might just, you know, put them together, take some pictures, say I'm not giving you any guarantees. Sold as is for parts. Sorry, shipping is expensive. So somebody might pay like $20 for the two kits for parts, and then pay another $20 to have them shipped, because it would be worth that if they're trying to build one of these. But I know that as I'm working on these, two of the 11 chairs so far are not going to work, and I need to trade them out. I'm putting this in the reject well, and you're going to get to see me get up and walk off camera. I wasn't planning to steal parts from another kit today, but then I didn't know what I'd be getting into with these little chairs, so you'll get to see me get up and walk away while I find the chairs that work. I'm looking for the other one that's bad. Yeah, it's this one. This one isn't going to work either. So at this point, it looks like I need to find 3. This one is no good. I need to find 3 substitute chairs. I'd rather do that. I'd rather take the time to go through my donor kits and get parts that work rather than try to force the issue with some parts that just really are too flawed to use. I mean, that's why I bought the donor kits, right? To donate parts. So what the donor kit that have used so far is actually not another George Washington. It's an Ethan Allen. And Ethan Allen was a later version of the same thing. All of the internal parts, like all this stuff, the bunks and the bulkheads and everything, are the same as the George Washington kit. They're identical. The only difference is that the covers for the missile launch tubes are changed. So in these, the George Washington ones are hinged fore to aft. Okay? So they open fore to aft. And the ones on the Ethan Allen are starboard to port. I don't know why they made that change. But what that means is that there are like 4 parts on the submarine that are not interchangeable. Everything else is. And that box is, well, it's not the original one. It came later. The box is kind of beat up. The parts, the parts are molded in a different color in all 3 kits. But the Ethan Allen is the donor kit. And I need to get 3 chairs because they stand on pedestals. There isn't enough protrusion on the bottom of the pedestal to hold well. Okay, so I'm going to apologize a little bit here, and I'm going to go get the Ethan Allen box and find these little chairs and find 3 of them that are better than this one. Set this aside. Hopefully don't make a disaster as I fish through this box for parts. You can see, this is what I mean by it. You can see the hatch there. It opens over to the side. And the original George Washington ones open front to back. And when you open one up, This is the kind of thing you get. This box full of all sorts of little pieces. These are the chairs. Yeah. And if I look at them, yeah, I mean, they're the same sort of thing. But this has already been a donor kit, and I'll just see how it goes. Then the 3 chairs that I'm rejecting, I'm going to put in this baggie. I'll just do that now, so that they will be with the kit. Okay, in case anybody really wants them. This is the bag of little parts that have come off of the trees. And now I'm going to get 3 chairs off of here. There are more chairs, little chairs on another deck. There are more chairs on another deck. You know, do that too. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm cutting these off way down here, so that there is, you know, this prong between. I think what happened with the other kit is instead of being cut off like this, some of them were just broken off and they broke higher up. When there wasn't enough plastic left. That's why when you build a kit like this, you need to always cut them off, leaving extra plastic on them. It's difficult to add. Thing here. You can, I don't know if you can see it with these tiny parts, but these are a darker shade of plastic, a darker gray than the other ones. Which doesn't matter, as it turns out, because once they're painted, it doesn't show. But these now have little prongs on them. I took the 3 that were least awful in terms of flashing and mold marks and things. Still not great, but, you know, it's not as bad as the others. So far, I can say that the kit I've been working with, the George Washington kit, the basic model that I've been using has been complete. I haven't found any missing parts. I have found parts that are unusable because they're warped, or in the case with these little chairs, you know, missing, they're too small, or they're misshapen or something like that. I haven't found any missing parts, and so when I've substituted them out, when I've gone to the donor kit, I'm just substituting parts instead of replacing parts. I suppose if I were really compulsive, if I were to sell the donor kits on eBay, I would go through and inventory all the parts, right? Which is not impossible, but unpleasant. So the point would be to get the donor kits out of my basement, but also not just throwing them away. Because as I'm seeing here, having one like that, having a donor kit, if you're actually trying to build this model as opposed to doing like a display of the model kit, could be of value to somebody. So I think I'll just sell them cheap on eBay, pretty much for the price of postage. Just so that they get into the hands of somebody who can use them. Hate to see it wasted. I mean, they've survived since the 60s, right? And being a contemporaneous with the kits, I know how significant that is there. These have spectacular round circles on them. So basically they've traded one kind of flaw for another. Ordinarily, this is pretty easy to file off, but this isn't ordinary because there's no place to hold them. This was a good substitution to make, because otherwise those chairs, they would have been really difficult to install when the installation came, and almost impossible to paint, because I'm counting on the alligator clip holding that tiny little bit of plastic that inserts into the hole in the deck. On this isn't perfect, but I think it's adequate. This is what I've been going for most of this model, since I'm not a highly skilled modeler or painter. Like, especially with the bunks, I've been going for this is okay. This is adequate. And I have to say that I think up till now, at least, I have been successful in producing adequate. This chair is the way they all should be. Okay, there's no big circular mark on it. There's no extra flashing. If they had all been like this, the last half hour wouldn't have happened. Well, I mean, Of course, the last half hour would have happened. Time is marching on. But what I meant was that you wouldn't have had to watch me deal with little bits of plastic over the last half hour, trying to get them to work. Yeah, so hopefully there are 11 here. Put them in the big well. 9, 10, 11 tiny little chair-like objects. There we are, along with all of the flashing and junk that came off of them. And Since I'm not going to paint these right away, I'm just not going to take a chance. I just suddenly have these visions of, you know, I'm using the palette and I hit the edge and it flips up. And I lose like all of them. I'm going to put them back in their little safety envelope here and set that aside. Empty this out, clean it. Going to retrieve these guys, pull them off of the tape. Okay, so these tables work like this. They go in between the benches. They're like that. So if this little table here, this one, eight people sit around this table. So there must be, I'd say, a dozen, 6 on each side at least, supposedly sitting around those tables. One goes in like this, and then those little chairs go all the way around it. The installation instructions say put the chairs in first, and I can see why, because they actually kind of slide out underneath this. That's a shiny spot or a flaw in the paint. So what I'm going to try to do with these when I start painting them white is I'm going to paint the tops white and the edges. I'm going to get some of this brown paint off first. This is just so it doesn't, the white paint I want this to be fairly smooth. Not perfect, but I don't need too many lumps showing on the tables, on the table edges. Okay, this is just really crappy. Just look, the paint didn't get on there. So whatever, that was an oh moment. Whatever I tried to do to get these to get painted right, it just didn't. There's flaws on the bottoms here. So after I'm done painting the white, I'm going to probably end up going back and doing brown touch-up again before I install these things. It really would have been better off just holding them with a glove. But yeah, I mean, just around the edges. And I'm sure that when I paint the white on the edges, I'll get it down on the leg here for sure. And then that'll have to be touched up because that's just the lack of skill that I've got. I think when I was doing this back in like 7th grade, even though the brushes and the paints weren't as good as what I have now, they were Testors enamels, which are fine paints, but they're much harder to work with, you know, in terms of cleanup and in terms of viscosity and all. I somehow think that maybe I had a steadier hand, so that painting these tabletops, like going, was just a no-brainer. really easy and straightforward, but yeah, not so much now. Or maybe I just didn't pay that much attention to the detail then. I don't know. So as you can tell, there's no place to hold these while they're getting painted either, so I'll be using little alligator clips on these as well and seeing, hopefully that will work. And if the alligator clips scar the brown paint, well, that's why we do touching up over and over and over and over again. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a dilemma here. I like to use this larger brush like I did with all of the rest of this because I can go and get the paint thin and even and not leave brush marks. But painting the edges with this brush is possible. I don't know. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to get this out of the way. I don't want to scar it. So I'll set it back over here. Oh, the staircase came out okay. The paint's dry, so I can take the clip off of that and put it with the other one. Cover that up. So I'm going to I need to do the tables anyway. I have other parts that need to be painted white, either a second coat or a first coat. But these tables need to be done. These alligator clips all ready for the chairs, but I'm going to use these for the tables also. And I've got this thing here. This is an old block of wood that has a whole bunch of holes in it, which can hold the alligator clips. I'm doing for 7. And I've got 8 things that need to be held. So I'm going to take this thing here. Okay, this is my backup. Make sure that there's stuff everywhere. Why did I pull this out? It needs to be painted blue later, not white. So they just go in these holes here. There, but there's not enough holes, so stick it in sticky tack because they have to be held up somehow after they're painted. Yeah, and then, after the white is dry, after like the second or third coat is put on, I'll probably touch up the brown again. Most of the touch-up will be right down in the legs, and so I don't think I'll be running into too much issue with the white paint. You never know. We'll see. Okay. So there's that. There's also these two pieces that need to be stuck on something and held. So I've got another one of... I've got two of these. So if I need to, I can stick alligator clips in a bunch of them. So I'm going to try one of these with just the big brush. I'm going to very carefully go over the edges with white. Okay. And then paint the top. And then touch up the edges again. Can't put much pressure on it. Otherwise the clip. Anyway, yeah, let's get out some white paint and we'll just see how this goes. I'm sorry, I'm looking at these pieces and I'm going, I used the sticky tack for these. Okay. I'm just going to do single first coats here on the parts that hadn't been coated before. Okay, because I actually need to use the sticky tack to hold the parts that I first coated earlier. Okay, the way I painted these, since they're only painted on the front, is I just put them on here. Great, but if I'm using this to hold alligator clips, then I can't do that. So yeah, I need another piece of wood with a dozen more holes in it, which I could make very quickly and easily, but I'm not going to. So on we go. Let's get some white paint out here. And let's see if I can do this all with this brush. Yep. I was afraid of, see, just got a little bit on the brown there. And that'll take like a tiny touch of brown paint. The important thing is to get it even on the top. Yep, and then don't look what you're doing when you get it off the edge and get it on the brown. Okay, so there's one, and I learned a little lesson there in terms of being a little cautious about the edges. I can fix that, and if it doesn't get fixed very well, I can make sure that the part where the brown is touched up, if the edge is a little bit uneven still, that I don't get the cleanup quite clean up, I'll just put it on the back so you can't ever see it. Great. What's happening here is the paint is pretty viscous. It's drying on the brush. So I'll need a second coat. I knew that. But what I'm learning is that I need to clean this brush after each table almost. Because the paint is drying quickly. looking at these, it's pretty obvious that it will need to be some brown touch-up anyway. Other thing I discovered is you go from the middle out, and you don't need to be concerned about getting paint buildup on the edge like the very first one I did. Okay, so there's 4. That hole isn't big enough. The 5 big ones. Then there's this little table for 8. It's crowded on the submarine. If you didn't get along well with someone, it must have been quite a challenge. Being quiet. I'm just painting table edges and tops here. The first of 2, possibly 3 coats. Paint. As you can see, it's pretty streaky, the first coat. The light colors, white, yellow, and orange, don't cover well. They have all required multiple coats. The round table. I don't understand this. The round table is big, relatively speaking, and there's only 1 chair at it. And compare that. That has 8 people around it, and that has 1 chair. I want the round table. Looks like what's happening here is the round table. I didn't notice it before. Is this infinitesimal little lip around the top. And so when I put the brush on, it catches on that and doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the table. Okay, so these guys all need a second coat. I'm going to use the big brush on this yet, but I'm going to squeeze out some new paint. And then I'm going to get a smaller brush out for the other two parts that need to be done. Two little bits that need to be painted white. This is where the meat hangs. These things, the ham and the sausage, they hang on these prongs. Like that. I think actually they're supposed to go like on the surface of the prongs like that. So this is part of the storeroom, and that needs to be painted white. And this little piece of tape here shows me that isn't so much the line to keep the paint from going, but that shows me this is the line between this part and that part. And this part is outside the storeroom and is painted a different color. Okay, so I'm going to paint this, and then I'm going to get the insides of the storeroom doors and the hanging bar for the meat. Put a first coat on, and then I'm going to take a break, and then come back and put second coats of white paint on. That's what I'll end up doing. Start being annoying. Second coat I'll just put in the other direction. And set that up there, why not? Glad I have a lot of these alligator clips because I need 11 of them for the chairs, but I'm also using a whole lot of them for the rest of these things, like this. Get some of the necessarily some white paint onto the meat underneath, but you know, that'll get painted meat color, whatever that is. Hams and salamis a little bit later. Just need to make sure that this is covered in white. The sad part about some of the detail in this model is that you'll never see some of it because it's hidden behind something else. And that happens with some frequency here. like this is going to be really hard to see because it is, the only way to see it is to look through this door into the storeroom. I've been debating about these doors and decided that the edges of the doors are in fact going to be painted the blue color. And it's only the inside of the door, the part that's in the storeroom, that's painted white. It's like a metal door, but the inside is maybe like a white enameled kind of finish or something. And you can see that, you know, the white needs a second, sometimes even a third coat. We'll put that up there with the other thing that's mainly white. Clean off the brush. You can see the tabletops are drying here. And we'll see what they look like with a second coat. Again, trying to keep it fairly thin, because I don't want big brush marks all over the place. And then after break, I'm going to be doing a lot of white painting, because all these will be second coated, as well as the parts I was doing before. And if I'm going to give those a second coat, I'm going to need another way of holding these up. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I can just sort of I can just set them down like that. Yeah, that'll work too. And then I can use the sticky tack. As long as I have a way of setting these down, I can use the sticky tack for these parts. All right, this has been more very slow work on the submarine. We got to see why the chairs cost something like $13,000 a piece because of manufacturing rework. Making some progress on these tables. Even though it's out of order, I might be able to cement these tables into the floor because they're out of the way of everything else. I don't see why they couldn't be. Yeah. Anyway, it depends on how much I want to move along and show some sort of assembly progress as opposed to not. But the most important part is to get the next coat of white paint on all of these. And if that's done successfully, I'll just go on and start doing some other colors. Or I might experiment with some colors on Muriel. We'll see. Anyway, I do need to take a break. I will be back in about 25 minutes, as I say. That's 25 minutes, more or less 5. And we'll continue working on submarine bits. Thanks so far. And we'll see you in a little while. And break is over. And I pushed the break over button without knocking anything over. That was pretty surprising. I'm going to be putting more white paint on things, doing a second coat on the things I did earlier and, before the break, and also on the things that I did even before that. So I'm going to take these off of here because I need the sticky tack. Practicing setting these aside. I'm going to need the sticky tack for these pieces that need a second coat. And they're nicely not. There's magnets in the bottoms of these things, and yeah, they're pretty powerful magnets. Grab onto things at a distance. These things all need to be painted white, second coat. I'm going to use the larger brush on these, like I did before. Okay, and when I did these the first time, I used the larger brush on them to get the paint fairly even and thin, and then I kept the smaller brush handy because if the paint pooled up, as it might, in these little spots underneath here, then I needed to absorb it and pull it out of the way. So I'm going to stir up the white paint again. And when I'm done with these second coats, I will need to make a decision about whether I want to keep working on the submarine or I'll explain that in a minute once this is no longer buzzing. Off so I can see up close. One of the ongoing hazards of being a little older is not being able to see. Either up close or far away. There's always something. Yeah, and then you set down your white paint right in front of you, and you look for it like, no, it's got to be here somewhere. And it's true. It did need to be there somewhere. So here I'm trying to do this without getting brush marks on things is pretty much what I'm trying to do. And if I need a third coat, that's just fine. You can see the second coat makes a difference. You can also see that a third coat is going to be necessary. These two guys, put that over the side. There's a lot of nooks and crannies down here in the detail on the stove. This is two sides. There's a divider here. This side is the room temperature storage. It's all full of shells. This side is the cold storage, and that's got hanging meat in it. this is molded onto the part itself, not hanging separately like the other piece that I was working on before. Anyway, you can see that the second coat makes a huge difference. It's still not great. After it dries, I'll decide whether to put a third coat on or not. So those two bits are done. This is on a clip because it's two-sided. This side is the room temperature storage, and this side is the cold storage. And this side shows. And this side gets glued in to this gap here. Like that. Set that there. And this is a tiny little table. It used to be a big table. It used to be 2 tables high, and it blocked the view of the stove very badly. And the stove has really cool detail on it, so I took what was a 2-level table and turned it into a 1-level table by cutting it off and filing it down. And after I tested it, it worked really well. Okay, so I'm going to set this over here also. And those are the pieces that were done before. Now I can start working on the pieces that I had just done before the break, which are these tables and bits. Yeah, they're pretty much the tables, and then there's some parts that I had forgotten to paint earlier. Be the best way to do it. Mean by that is hopefully we won't have an uh-oh moment in a moment. We'll see. Looks like 2 coats might work on some of these. We'll see what they look like when they dry. And this is the meat hanger thing. After this is painted, I'll do some tables. Could have gotten out a smaller brush for that, but I didn't. Okay, so what I'm concerned about here is as I pull these out, bounce other things around. So, yeah, right, because they're kind of stuck in there. There, let me clean the brush, get some fresh paint before I do those. This is all going pretty quickly. So after I'm done with the second coat here, I'm not going to be able to put on a third coat. This stream They'll dry, but not until like 2 o'clock when the stream is over. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll check back. But it's unlikely I'll be able to get a third coat on yet today. Like these tabletops here, unless I were to put the paint on really very heavy, and I don't want to do that. Third coat. I think the edges are going to be okay. 2 coats on the edges will be fine, but they're going to need a third coat on the tops just to make them look finished. So after I'm done with these, I need to decide what to do next. I would like to get the chairs done, but if I stick those on alligator clips, the alligator clips need to go somewhere, and that somewhere is probably embedded in the sticky tack. I can probably put, like, there's 11 chairs, I can probably get 6 in each sticky tack by just sticking the ends in. But the sticky tack is holding these other parts that I painted, so that's not going to work. So I'm looking at the ones that were done, and they'll definitely need a third coat on the top, not on the edges. The edges are looking okay, but the tops need to be coated one more time, as are the kitchens, the sections of the kitchen. As you can see that, anyway, they're just not quite as well covered as they need to be. And that's okay. I'd rather, as painting instructions often say, it's better to use multiple thin coats than it is to put on just a blob of paint. What I'm going to do here is do multiple thin coats. Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of white things there, and then there's this piece of ball in those doorways. remember, this is the inside of the cold storage room where the meat hangs. We'll just set this along with everything else, right? And put that brush away, and I need the smaller brush for this. Just to be able to reach where it's going. I noticed that the edges of the doors, just the inside of the door frames too. I'll be painting the blue color that I'm using for the walls of the crew quarters. Anyway, let's just make a crowd here. Make a crowd of parts, and then clean these brushes. And then I will decide what to do next. One thing I'm tempted to do is we've got this important NPC in our D&D stream named Muriel. Muriel is a Bollywog. Bollywog looks like a big frog. A druid that we met in an earlier episode down in some sewers. They happen to be the sewers where we first encountered what we're now calling the murder cult. We don't know if they actually murder people, and we don't know if it's actually a cult, but that's what we called it because, you have to call it something, right? So we were down in these sewers, and we discovered this room that had blood spattered around, and there was magic that made it look different than what it really was. And there were these runes written on the walls, and the runes caused psychic damage when you looked at them. Zoria actually copied down some of these, and if somebody looks at the copy she made, they still work. They cause psychic damage. So anyway, we figured something terrible was going on there, some sort of cult activity, obviously. And so we just called it a murder cult, because why not? I don't know if the tops of these are going to show or not, but now I'm looking at these. I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to paint the tops white, just in case they do. Okay. No, the edges don't, because those abut other things. But if these show later, I don't want them to be white. Better safe than sorry. I'd rather do this now rather than start piecing it together and then discover that there's a problem. Discovering there's a problem when you're almost done makes the problem even a bigger problem. So just in case, okay, just in case the tops show, I'm going to paint them. bit on these edges too. They're not supposed to show, but you never know. Magnets. That one is painted. Here's the other wall. Okay, I've got that painted. Okay, that's just better. That was a just in case. Let's make sure that there's not an issue with it, kind of thing. Okay, I got all these white pieces that are now in the way because I was working on them diligently. Sort of done pieces. I'm going to put these up here out of the way. Wait for that to dry. And maybe I'll put the final coat on yet this stream. If it gets to be like around, 22, there'll be time to do that. And I think a third coat better be enough, otherwise just going to be painting white over white over white over and over and over again forever. What I've got left there's a partition here. These are the doors that go into, what did I do here? If we look at the map here, these are these doors here. Okay, so the kitchen's all pretty white, but these partitions are painted a light blue color, this color, which is really quite pleasant, I think. That's the crew quarters, living quarters color. This door thing needs to be painted that color. I could get the blue out and do that. This partition, both sides are crew quarters, and that can be painted that blue color as well. On this side, there's like a conference table here. I'm thinking that's what it is. It's separate from the dining room. It's like the officers' mess, I guess. They get their own room. I think that's like a blackboard. It's definitely not a widescreen TV because those didn't exist then. There's that. That's really badly flawed. What happened here is that there were circles indented into a circular mold mark right on the edge where it shows. And, that's even. I think if I'm looking at it from the side, it should be okay. So I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. It's not a big screen TV. They didn't have those kinds of things. It's not really a display panel. It's either a whiteboard or a blackboard. And I'm going to say that that's a blackboard, okay? Because that's just the kind of thing you would have then. The other side is hugely detailed. It's a bunk room here. It's got a library with bookends that need to be painted, lockers, okay? And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the lockers the same color as the junction boxes, just so there's a little contrast between the lockers and the walls. And the walls are just painted that blue-green color. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. I think that's like an alarm. Okay, that signals something bad is happening. And I might just paint that red. And behind the bookshelves will be the same blue color as the walls, but the shelves will be, I'll outline those probably with a black pen, or maybe I'll try to get a dark brown paint on that and then mark the books. So this one's a little tricky. I think I'll paint that red first, and then I'll paint, if I'm going to be painting blue, I can paint these two pieces that light blue color. I already painted the bulkheads on either side down here in the bunk room. And I'll need to be painting more, like this thing that's painted white on this end. You know, where the meat is hanging, that's white because that's inside the storeroom. The rest of it is painted blue on both sides. I actually could. I'm just going to take the tape off at this point. I know where the dividing line is. So one thing I can do if I'm painting details is I'm going to I'm just going to do some details here. I'm going to paint the blackboard black. I got a nice flat black color. Okay. These hatchways are painted neutral gray. I can do that. And then when I paint the blue color, it goes up to them. The same thing on this side. And what I'll be able to do then is, at least on this side, if I get this colored black and that dries, and this gray and that dries, I'll be able to paint some blue. If not, it's not a big deal. You know, but at least I can start getting these little detail things done. And I can put these on clips. Not that I have any place to put the clips, but I can, you know, I can set the clips up like that so that the pieces have a place to go. There's two down there now. So I'm going to paint black, gray, and red to get some of this detail work done. Because those things have to be done anyway. So I'm going to just get them done. I'm going to paint that little red bit first. Really don't want the paper towel there. The paper towel is supposed to cover these things up so they don't get dusty. We'll get these little detail bits done. And then it might be possible to paint, if not all of the things that need to be painted blue, because I can't get all of them at once. I can get some of them done. Yeah, and then after I get these little detail bits done, instead of painting blue, I'm going to take a little bit of time, now that I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to, I haven't been sure what color to paint Muriel. So I've got, because of some problems with the 3D print for Muriel, I've got some practice Muriels. Okay, there are some flaws in the print. Parts of her staff didn't get printed correctly, and so I am going to try some different colors and see what people think. Because on Friday, I'm going to paint Muriel. Oh. Let's see, this is the color I used in the junction boxes. This is antique paint. really old bottom. But I thinned it down a little bit, and it's getting a nice stir. This is the color I'm using for the lockers here. If I can get it open. Jeez. Need a pair of pliers. I didn't think there was paint in the cap here. There. This might be one of those I need to clean the cap and the treads kind of situations. That's another way to fill the time. Yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? So after I paint the lockers, which won't take very long, most people who see the submarine won't notice that the lockers are the same colors as the junction boxes. But I want them to be a different color, but not hugely different from the wall color. I don't want to make it look like they're just parts of the wall that have doors on them. Well, if that the paint, in fact, is too thin. It's not covering very well. And I don't want to lose the locker detail. So I'm just going to keep doing this. Get rid of paint buildup. And we'll see what that looks like when it dries. It might be okay. Clean this brush. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, which is fine because I need to turn it over and paint the blackboard on the other side. But what I'm going to do here is clean off some of this mess. Paper towel as I clean this. I'm going to use the dirty one. Why not? Use this. I'm going to catch the paint flakes on this and then start using a new one for the paint builds up on the rim like this, and then the cap gets on there, and it's just like glue. Anyway, I get to do this instead of painting, but sometimes you just need to do paint maintenance, you know, in order to keep things moving. Like if I want to use this paint again, I'd like to be able to open the jar, like I wasn't able to this time. So this is fine because I'm letting that paint dry so I can flip the model over. And there's a black board on the other side that I'm going to paint black, flat black. I don't know if I'm getting all the paint here, but I'm certainly getting some of it. Hopefully I'm getting the stuff that was keeping the bottle from opening. There. Clean that off when I get this capped up again. That goes on more easily anyway. Okay, let's see. I need the light gray now. This is almost not quite an oh moment. Light gray is the color of the hatches, and if you can see this, the hatch is amazingly detailed. You can see all the bolts that hold the hatch together. There's a little window in it. There's a handle on it. It's like the hinges. It's like, why is that so detailed? On the other side, there's absolutely nothing. It's just sometimes I'm not really understanding the why and wherefore of this model. But I'm going to paint the hatch because they need to get painted. And I'm going to paint this side first because with the clip on it, it doesn't touch. And then I can let it just set and dry. And pretty much I'm going to make sure I paint the inside of the hatch, because that you might be able to see that. Look at it. Looking at it from this side. So I want to make sure that that side of the open hatch especially is painted. And then I don't have to be incredibly careful. I just want to make sure that the paint doesn't get on too thick. And I want to paint all around the rim, because then when I paint the blue color later, I'll be painting up to but not over the rim of it. What I did with the other hatch, there was one of these in the torpedo room, is I used a red, very fine tipped red pen, and did the handles red, and then a tiny dot of chrome paint right there where the window in the hatch is, to make it look like a window. And it kind of worked. I mean, it's just shiny bright, and the contrast works. I could have painted it white, but actually the chrome looks more like a window than the white would have. The white would have looked like a white spot. So there's that hatch. And this paint color is pretty close to the primer color, but as it dries, it gets a little darker, and you can really see the difference. How about these lockers? I think they're going to need a second coat. It's dried really fast. I could actually do that now. Just get it done. Really thin, like another really thin coat of paint on it, just to make sure that they're covered. That was, like I said, that was old paint. It was pretty much congealed, and I thinned it, but probably thinned it a little bit too much. It's hardly used at all. The junction boxes tend to be way in the back hull of the model. You can't really see them very much. But what I want to do here is not lose the detail on the lockers. So I'm going to spread this paint on quickly and thinly, just to provide a little more coverage without masking the details of the locker hinges and little knobs and things, which I then may or may not try to highlight. Later. Good. Hand cramp. That's not good. And what did I need to do? The blackboard. Side. And I need the model color black. This is very flat. It should be at least flat paint. So it's a little bigger, softer brush. You can use that on here. And I'm going over the edges because I know I'll be painting up to them. Down there. We'll see how this does, if one coat does it or not. It's a pretty opaque paint. Won't know till it dries. And then we will know. So we got parts scattered here. Let me grab a Muriel. Hold on. So this is one of the Muriels, the Bollywog. And the top of her shaft didn't come out very well. So what I'm going to try is, and there's a flat on the back, I'm going to try some different colors. 2 Muriels here. With the opportunity to try a couple of different colors and to see what people like. One is a lighter green, and the other is a darker kind of olive green. And then underneath, I'm not sure how light or dark people want it. Colors. I'm going to try 2 different color combinations, mainly on her face. Kind of a lighter color underneath the chin and a darker color on top. And they can be combined in different directions. This is the color I want. It's stuck. This is one of them. These are the two greens. What I need is this color. It's called dark sand. Color behind it. Afraid that it is the bottle that's stuck in the hole. I'll be back. I'm talking off camera. Okay. It's just a matter of finding what I'm looking for, hopefully. Well, let's just stir up some colors and see what we can do here. Oh, wait, there it is. Not that. It's too gray. Whoa. Okay, like I got about a million times more than I needed here. So I'm not going to be hugely precise about this. I'm just trying to get a sense of which colors are going to work best for Muriel. And there's with frogs, the bollywog is not exactly a frog, so don't call her a frog. Okay, this lighter color underneath. Green on top. Got some down in her clothes. Her clothes, I'm going to play with that too. I'm thinking there's the color I wanted. That's cork brown. That's not the color I wanted. I'm going to try this. There it is. I'm going to try this as part of her clothes. As one of the colors. And then the other one will be buff. I don't know where the dark sand went. Really pretty annoying. And then I'm just kind of making more of a mess around here. I'm messing around with this. I thought I had it out. And as usual, when I thought I had something out, it turns out to not be out. Right? Okay. Well, he's pretty much just wearing like rough spun linen. And I'm going to try a couple of different colors with a wash on them. I'm just painting the top half. And we'll decide if she'll have more than one color or not later on, but I'm trying to get these color combinations down. So that's one of the two colors that we could use. I'm going to paint the whole front because I want to see what it looks like with two different wash colors. I might do like one side with one color and one with the other. One of the two that I'm thinking of using, this is the other one. Use this on the other Muriel. Here. And the same thing will happen. I'm just going to paint the whole front. And then I can... Wow, this paint... Oh, it's a new jar. Okay, that's the problem. I needed to give this... And I need to... it's a new jar, and it really needs to be mixed much longer. I was getting pretty much unpigmented solvent there. See if this is better. Yep. Looks better. This one is buff. The other one is called cork brown. And as far as chin goes, that one is bone white, which I've been using on the submarine with some success. And then I've got two colors of green. I'll paint those now. Putting this one on the one that I just painted buff, because the green is going where the buff isn't, and then both of those can dry. If they've dried, then I can paint. If I can find the dark sand, I'll be painting this one's chin, the dark sand. Looks really bright, but when it dries, it tones down quite a bit. So I'm glad I've got these practice murals, because when I do the real one, I want to make sure it's done well. As I said, Muriel is really quite an important NPC in our D&D campaign. This is the other green. This one's got a little bit more like brown in it. I think it looks more froggy, but it might be too dark. Keep these here so that I can kind of remember what color went where. Oh no, I just dipped it in the very same color I was using on the other one. That was an example of extreme uh-oh. That was an uh-oh moment. A major uh-oh moment. Yep. There we go. It's this color. And I know it's kind of messy, but basically what I'm doing is a color palette here, rather than attempting to actually paint the model. And I really, really, really want to find the dark sand. Because this is the alternate chin color. Okay, and I really need to do this too. I need to write this down. Sorry. I've done a lot of wandering around today. Dark sand with sick green and buff. And the other one is flat green with let's get these right. This one is bone white. With dark brown and black green. And the other one is buff with dark sand and sick green. Okay. This is the dark sand. A little more yellow in it than the bone white, and it might look better as a chin color. We'll see. Really close. Not too much difference. But we'll see what people say. I'm liking that the flat green better than the thick green. And then I'm kind of liking the dark sand a little better than the bone white. Okay, what we're going to do now, real quickly, is, and I'll still have time to do more white then. Do the third coat of white yet on the stream. That'll be good. Is, I'm going to get two colors of wash out. I'm going to be smoky ink, which is a little redder. And I'm going to do umber. And I'm going to do half of each of their clothes in each color. I'm going to write that down. Right side of the frog, I'm going to use smoky. Left, I'm going to use umber. So see what these two washes look like on two different base coats. Okay. This to look like kind of like burlappy. We'll sort of dab, after I spread it, I'm going to dab it to give it a little bit of maybe dappled texture, I'm hoping. I'm hoping that's what I get out of it. Okay. And then we'll do umber on the other side. And then I will do more whitewashing. really did a number on the work surface today. There's just junk everywhere. Okay, well, we have kind of, well, we have choices, but depending on how we want this to end up looking. But at least I'll have, this character is going to be really easy to paint. It'll go pretty quickly, but I want to get it done Friday. But I want it to be like how they want it to look. At least it'll give us samples to work from. Why this umber came out so very, very unpigmented. And it just is. It's a lot thinner. When I put it on a light color like that, it's a lot thinner than I remember it being. In terms of the amount of color it has. That is what it is. Get these guys a little bit out of the way. I've got all these. Okay. Get out this big brush again. Uncover all this white. All these white things that need to be triple coated. Yeah, magnets, not a good thing. Keep them far away. Okay, I'm gonna get out the white again. And we'll spread some white on this stuff, and hopefully that'll be good. And it should be, I should be able to finish just about the time that I should be finishing. Okay, I'm going to do the ones on the sticky tack first, so I can get them up and out of the way. Hydrate a little bit. And you start getting hand cramps. It's kind of a sign of maybe a little bit of dehydration. It looks like the third coat is going to be good enough. Very thick, trying to avoid brush marks. At the same time, ensuring adequate coverage here. Yeah, I got a little quiet because I'm just putting white paint on stuff. Those over there. Do this wall here real quickly. Got those there. Use that little chairs. I would get those in here too. Get them out of the way. That just needs to dry. That's another thing. Then we've got this big wooden block full of things that need to be painted white. We'll do the things around the edge first. Table. Got your two-sided divider. Cold storage. That shows room temperature storage. Little coffee service table. The inside here, especially that back. This back corner will show. The meat hanger. Little tiny square table. these doorways that I've been painting with the little brush, but why? Worked out well. We'll get those painted. Clean the brush because it's coming up, and we'll do the tops of the 6 rectangular tables, the 5 large ones and the 1 little one, and then that will be that for today. Squeeze out a little bit of paint in the last remaining well. That was a nice clean edge, and now that's a real bad one. Sometimes, the lesson is just leave it alone. Can't you just leave it alone? Down here is something's on the brush. A little piece of dust or some sort of thing. At least the only thing I'm touching are the alligator clips. So if those get a little paint on them, that's not a big deal. Okay, so tables. I think those will look okay when they're dry. If not, I can always put more on them. The kitchen parts are looking okay. Again, if they need a 4th coat, I can do that. Until they're dry, though, they might not, you don't get a real evenness, right? So this pile of stuff, I'm going to carefully lift and set down here in the corner, hopefully far enough away from the magnets. This has been Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Yeah, I've been focusing on what I've been doing, but let me wrap up and just explain again, as I usually do, that we all started out as a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and that campaign continues. It streams live with live chat on Twitch on Sundays at 3 Sundays a month. And that, as I said, that's ongoing. And as we progressed and got more and more into it, we decided that we wanted to have more and more elaborate dungeons and things to go through during our campaign and our stream. And so started producing dungeon tiles on these 3D printers that exist behind me. We now have quite a few different kinds of dungeons. Rough stone, cut stone, wood, stucco, set pieces like tents and barrels and crates and things, desks and beds and bookcases, all sorts of cool stuff. You can see some of them there below me on the stream here. And we decided that if we're going to be printing them and painting them, let's stream the painting as well. And so that's what's happening. This is Relaxing Painting, which for the most part are dungeon tiles and minifigs like this one here, kind of chimeric, that will feature oftentimes during our campaign stream. And because I built models when I was a kid and always wanted to do this one, and I happened to buy 3 of them in order to find enough parts, we've been doing Submarine Wednesdays as I continue to plug away at the Renwall Cutaway missile-firing nuclear submarine. Yeah, we've got great things. This was done in the 60s, so you get stuff like even while hidden deep below the surface, the George Washington will be able to release accurate destructive power equal to all the bombs dropped by U.S. planes in World War II. Terrific. You know, I guess that's something to brag about. And this fired Polaris submarines, which were the original sea-launched ballistic missiles, single warhead, replaced by Tridents that then had something like between 3 and 10. Yeah. Anyway, I built this from one of the original kits when I was in grade school, and now I have some original kits once again, and the original kit builder is building an original kit. And so far I've got the torpedo room and the sail done, and I'm working on this bit here, these 2 decks. And after I'm done with that, then I'll be working on this deck, and then this bulkhead will go in place, and we'll be able to start working on the atomic part, the nuclear warheads and the nuclear fission reactor, and all of this complicated machinery apparently that takes the hot water out of this one little pipe that comes out of the reactor. This one pipe, that's all that is, and all of this is there to turn that, whatever that is, into turning that little propeller. That seems like an awful lot of stuff to get between this little pipe and that propeller, but, you know, who am I to say? Anyway, yeah. Oh my. I never carry my phone with me, but I am today. Hold on. Hello. Hi, can you hold on just a few minutes? I am in the middle of a stream. I'm wrapping up in about... Can you call back in 5 minutes? 10 minutes? Yeah, I'm just wrapping up the stream and you called me on my phone. So we go until 2. So I'll be done in just a couple minutes. You can see the last 2 minutes of it. I'm just finishing. Okay. Talk to you soon. That was a little bit awkward. Got a call from our son Alex. Yeah, well, let me wrap up because he's going to be calling back in like 5 minutes, and I need to be finished here. So thanks for joining in. If you can, please consider to be a follower of Dice and Dungeons. If you can, please consider to be a subscriber. And if you really like what you're seeing and hearing, go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and become a patron. And that would be hugely appreciated. So I am going to wrap up now quickly so that I can take that call. And see you on Friday about 10.